Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, feeling like something was watching you from the closet or under your bed? That unsettling sensation, the one that makes your heart race, isn't just your imagination. What if the stories about El Cucuy were never just myths? What if this sinister figure, whispered about for centuries, was based on something real? Today, we're going beyond the bedtime warnings and exploring the legend of El Cucuy, Mexico's ultimate boogeyman, a terrifying creature that has haunted Spanish-speaking households for generations. Before we get into the eerie details, make sure to subscribe to Scream Flicks, where we dig into the most chilling myths, horror folklore, and the real-life nightmares behind them. If you enjoy exploring the darker corners of storytelling, hit the like button and turn on notifications. Now let's find out what makes El Cucuy so terrifying. Most people assume that El Cucuy is just the Hispanic version of the boogeyman, but that's a common misconception. While they share similarities, there are key differences that make El Cucuy even more terrifying. The boogeyman in English-speaking cultures is a vague, shapeless entity. Its form changes based on each child's imagination. It lurks in closets and under beds, waiting to strike fear into misbehaving kids. But El Cucuy? He has a more distinct identity, often depicted with glowing red eyes, razor-sharp teeth, and long claws. Some legends describe him as a hairy beast that perches on rooftops, while others say he has bat-like ears capable of hearing misbehaving children from miles away. And unlike the boogeyman who just scares kids, El Cucuy doesn't stop there, he takes them. So, what does he do with them? Well, that's where things get truly disturbing. Some stories say he devours them, while others claim he drags them away to an unknown place, never to be seen again. The fear of El Cucuy is strongly rooted in Hispanic culture, passed down through generations as a way to keep children from wandering off or misbehaving. But in many ways, El Cucuy and the boogeyman are two sides of the same coin. Both figures exist to instill fear, to keep children in line, and to act as a warning against disobedience. The boogeyman may be more abstract, while El Cucuy has a more monstrous description. But the main idea doesn't change. A terrifying force hiding in the shadows, preying on the fears of the young. So, are they the same? Yes and no. While their origins and descriptions may differ, their purpose and impact are almost the same. Every culture has its own version of a shadowy figure that punishes children. And maybe that's because fear itself is universal. Whether it's the boogeyman, El Cucuy, or another legend entirely, one thing remains true. Something is always waiting in the dark, watching and listening. Imagine this. You're a child, ignoring your parents' warnings, and suddenly you hear your name whispered in the darkness. A shadow moves, and before you can scream, a clawed hand covers your mouth. You're thrown into El Cucuy's sack, taken away to a place no one will ever find you. According to Mexican folklore, El Cucuy doesn't just punish children. He abducts them, drags them to his cave, and eats them. Some versions say he only feeds them one tortilla a day before devouring them. Others claim he keeps them forever, locked away, never to be seen again. Parents have used this legend for centuries to ensure their children behave. What if El Cucuy wasn't just a story, but a way to explain real-life disappearances? Some historians think that the legend of El Cucuy may have originated from real events in history. During the Spanish Inquisition, children who went missing were sometimes said to have been taken by El Coco. In reality, these children might have been victims of political or religious persecution. Over time, these stories evolved into supernatural warnings passed down through generations. Would you believe that El Cucuy's legend dates back over 500 years? The first time it was talked about in a Portuguese play from 1518, where he was associated with the devil himself. But some experts believe his roots stretch back even further, possibly to prehistoric Celtic Europe, where bogeyman figures were used to control children's behavior. Over time, this terrifying figure evolved across different cultures. In Brazil, a cuca is a monstrous woman with an alligator head. In Spain, El Coco is said to be a ghostly figure that paralyzes victims with fear before stealing them away. And in Mexico, he became El Cucuy, the shadow in the closet, the whisper in the dark, the creature that listens from the mountains and comes down to claim his prey. In indigenous Mexican cultures, similar legends existed long before European colonization. The Aztecs believed in supernatural creatures called tzitzimitl, skeletal beings that devoured the disobedient. Some researchers argue that the fear of these ancient beings merged with European folklore, evolving into the modern El Cucuy. But here's the most chilling part. Many adults who feared El Cucuy as children claim to have seen him. Are these just childhood nightmares, or is there something real hiding in the shadows? Some urban legends are just stories. Others, they feel too close to reality. Take the case of Albert Fish, the American serial killer known as the Boogeyman. He preyed on children, whispering to them, luring them away, his actions eerily mirroring the warnings parents give about El Cucuy. Some believe that stories like El Cucuy weren't created just to scare children, but to explain real-life horrors. And it's not just in the past. Even today, in certain villages in Mexico, parents still warn their children not to stay out late because El Cucuy is watching. Is this just an old superstition? Or could it be that the legend hides a darker truth? That something or someone is still out there, taking those who don't listen? There have been reports of mysterious disappearances in rural parts of Latin America, where locals claim to have seen a shadowy figure before children vanish. While authorities usually attribute these cases to human causes, the eerie similarities to the El Cucuy legend leave some questioning whether an unknown force is at play. Not all versions of El Cucuy are terrifying. Some recent retellings reimagine him as misunderstood rather than purely evil. In the children's book, Do You Know the Cucuy? The monster is depicted as a blue-furred, friendly creature with mismatched socks, not a terrifying kidnapper. Another book, El Cucuy is Scared Too, portrays him as a fearful being who hides under a child's bed because he himself is scared of change. Instead of a monster that preys on misbehaving children, these modern versions transform El Cucuy into a sympathetic figure, someone who, like the children he once haunted, experiences fear and uncertainty. Could these modern interpretations be an attempt to make peace with the childhood fears passed down for centuries? It's possible that these retellings reflect a shift in how we approach fear, turning it into something manageable rather than something to be avoided. Instead of using El Cucuy as a warning, these stories teach children to confront their fears, showing that even the scariest monsters may just need a friend. But does softening the legend erase its purpose? Perhaps by turning El Cucuy into a relatable character, we lose the original cautionary tale that once kept kids in line. Or maybe, deep down, we all just want to believe that even the scariest things in life aren't as bad as they seem. So, is El Cucuy just a myth, or is there more to the legend than we think? We've explored its origins, real-life parallels, and even its psychological impact, but the deeper you look, the more unsettling the legend becomes. Every culture has its own version of the boogeyman, which suggests that something real may have inspired these stories. Maybe not a literal monster lurking in the shadows, but a deeper, haunting truth that has echoed through generations. Across history, People have warned of figures that steal children, of beings that punish the disobedient. Whether it was a cautionary tale to keep kids safe or an explanation for real-life horrors, the fear it instilled was real. El Cucuy may not exist in the way folklore describes, but history has shown that fear often stems from truth. Serial predators, unexplained disappearances, and eerie encounters passed down as bedtime warnings. These could be hints of something real than just superstition. After all, every legend has a beginning, and sometimes the scariest part isn't the monster itself, but the reality that birthed it. Even today, in remote villages and quiet towns, people report hearing whispers at night, feeling unseen eyes watching from the dark. Maybe the legend has stuck around for a reason. Maybe some fears are never meant to be forgotten. Whether El Cucuy is a terrifying spirit, a distorted memory of past horrors, or just a story used to keep children in line, one thing is certain: fear has a way of making legends feel real. And sometimes, what we fear most is not what lurks in the dark, but the possibility that it was never just a myth to begin with. Have you ever heard stories about El Cucuy from your family? Share your scariest folklore encounters in the comments. And if you love exploring horror folklore, subscribe to Scream Flicks for more terrifying legends and real-life horror stories. Hit that like button if you made it this far. After all, you never know what might be watching from the darkness. Stay safe and don't misbehave.